So before the podcast begins, I'd like to take a moment to apologize for my audio in this video. Apparently, I'm an idiot who doesn't understand how sound works, so I ended up recording my microphone twice on top of itself. This won't happen again in the future, but if you are here, thank you for checking out the video. Enjoy. Hello and welcome to what we were initially calling the WireGaming podcast, subject to change. It's going to be a one-stop shop for gaming news, opinions on gaming, and just us talking a load of crap. We may not release this, we may release it, so if we do release it, welcome. Today we're going to cover who we are, why we decided to start doing this, and then we're going to talk about our top 5 favorite games of all time. I'll take 5 and Stephen will take 5 as well. We might do a bit of gaming news, and then we also may talk about a bit of next gen, the new consoles, and where it could all be leaving. So, my name's Kev. I've played games my whole life. More hardcore since Destiny launched a few years ago, and ended up meeting Stephen through Destiny, and here we are now. And we decided to do a podcast to try and help with the lockdown, quarantine, boredom. So I'll pass it over to Stephen and he can introduce himself.
Well, I'm Dr. Stephen Comiskey.
Dr. Stephen.
Got to get that PhD in there. Yeah, I've been gaming my whole life as well. My first memory of gaming was getting the original Game Boy when I got my tonsils removed. And I've been gaming ever since. I'm not hardcore. I play like a
very
hardcore
average,
gamer.
very average.
Some would say a doctor average. But I am, I've been playing a lot more since Destiny came out as well. Like, as Kev said, that's kind of how we met. And wide interest in games, and happy to do something here that's preventing lockdown boredom, giving them something to do every week, and good way to catch up with some good friends and have some good discussions. So
jeez, every week is very optimistic.
Hopefully, I mean,
and just to optimistically pessimistic.
Yeah.
Pessimistically optimistic, whichever. Anyway, we are also due to be joined by a third person, Dylan, who couldn't make it tonight because he has plans, as he said, but we'll let him
Apex
for now.
Apex.
Gotta get that master rank. Anyway, we started off. What have you been up to the last week or so, or a couple of weeks? What have you been playing, or are you watching anything, or what, Stephen?
Yeah, so actually the last couple of days I tuned into WandaVision, so watched the first 3 episodes of that.
No spoilers, haven't started yet.
No,
please.
Won't. No spoilers. Really enjoying it. Definitely a different direction, but it is very good. The characters are very much Wanda and Vision, and the setting is fantastic. The big thing that I've been doing really is trying to increase my fitness. So I've been going for walks every day and using that as an excuse to listen to audiobooks, which I have missed doing because I used to drive to work every day for over 2 hours. So I'm listening to the Mistborn trilogy. I'm actually on the second trilogy by Brandon Sanderson, and they are amazing. I absolutely love those books. Just full of magic, high fantasy, shenanigans. It's a brilliant story from start to finish. And gaming wise, then I have been actually gone back to Monster Hunter Iceborne on PS5.
This is where I leave the room and not come back.
Yeah, and don't know why I just kind of fell back into it. I was playing Ghost of Tsushima, which again is amazing, but I have this thing with open world games. I get fatigued very quickly. I'm trying to make my way down the map to do a particular mission, and then everything gets in the way, and I just have to take a break.
Yeah.
But I'm loving it, but I'm just taking a break for now. And I finished Demon's Souls. I platinumed it. So that was my month of January.
Did you download a save file off the internet, or did you actually do it yourself?
No, did it myself. I will admit that I save scummed. I absolutely save scummed hard.
But to be fair,
I fucked up. So my save scumming was for nothing, because not only did I not save scum in the right direction, but I save scummed at the wrong points, which meant that I still had to go back and do several things. So it took me 3 playthroughs when it should have only taken 1.5. So
That's unlucky.
that was everything for me. What about you, Kev? What have you been up to?
Well, as you well know, because I've been complaining about it non-stop, I'm hunting shinies in Pokemon Sword and Shield. While watching Louise actually play through her first playthrough of Cyberpunk. Um, it's kind of funny when your girlfriend who plays games quite casually has more hours put into Cyberpunk than all of your friends who've been looking forward to it for 7 years. But yeah, she's having a great time, and I'm having a not so great time beside her because I'm at 4,900 resets. With odds of, for anyone who's not aware of Pokemon shiny hunting odds, with a shiny charm, you've got a 1,365 chance. And I'm at 4,900 on one, so it's
Are
been
you
a
still
struggle.
chasing Lunala?
I walked away from that for a while, and I'll go back to it. I want to get the 3 Reggies as shiny, and then get the 2 new Reggies as shiny also. So that's I've been at that for about 8 or 9 days now, which is a bit rough.
That is awful.
Um, Obviously we did our weekly Destiny raids. Per Tom still hasn't got the raid rocket launcher after 33 rewarded completions, so that's a soft spot. But other than that, it's just been shiny hunting and Pokemon, Sword and Shield. I actually start watching because of Cyberpunk, which I played a lot of, and when you do eventually play it, we'll hopefully do an episode on that. But because of that, I've been looking for other cyberpunk like entertainment and stumbled upon Brave New World that was on Sky One last year. It's kind of set in that dystopian future. It's set in New London, where I won't get into it too much because you could do an episode totally on that itself, but it's where everything's at peace because nobody really has any belongings. Everybody belongs to everybody, and it's really just a big orgy. But that's quite interesting. However, it was cancelled after the first season, so kind of watching it in vain. But it's enjoyable. It's enjoyable. I'm gonna buy a couple of cyberpunk books. The Neuromancer is probably the first one on that list, so I'll get on top of that. But other than that, nothing else. Looking forward to Foo Fighters' new album. It's out next week or the week after, I think. Yep. So
No way. I didn't
looking
know that
forward to
now.
that. Yeah, it's out on the 2nd of Feb, I think.
Oh, that'd be
But
nice.
yeah, looking forward to that. And they've released a couple of tracks off it, and it's a bit different, but it's Foo Fighters.
I've
Can't.
completely missed all this. Jesus.
Yeah, it was only announced they recorded it last year, and then they're like, "Oh, we're not releasing it until we can tour with it." And then they were like, "Fuck it, we'll release it anyway." And now the episode needs a bad language warning. Whoops. Anyway,
Only if we actually release it. So,
only if we actually release the fucking thing.
well, no, we
Um.
definitely needed a bad language warning. Yeah.
So yeah,
So
that's me.
yeah.
But actually, to touch back on, I do need to play Demon Souls also on the long finger, and I also need to play Ghost of Tsushima and stop making excuses for why I haven't played any of them yet. But yeah,
Well, you have a very good excuse in that Louise is addicted to Cyberpunk.
yeah, she's kind of commandeered the PlayStation since Cyberpunk came out.
Hmm. And
She's
if I
getting,
remember correctly, your family did the same thing when you got it first with Crash and other games. So you probably
yeah,
haven't really touched it.
I've played less of my PS5 than Louise has played of my PS5.
Mm.
I've played less
And
of
that,
my PS5 than probably her brother has played as well. So yeah. Anyway,
I think actually
sharing is
talking
caring.
about that, talking about the PS5, it's probably a good time to just touch on
Yeah.
next gen. Because if they haven't gathered from our conversation already, you and I have both been fortunate enough to get PlayStation 5s, but we've had two different experiences with
And
it.
Nvidia GeForce 3080s.
I wasn't going to bring that in there. We want people to listen if it goes live. Yeah, but we actually both had very different experiences with it. Do you want to say what your experience was with the PS5 and how you got one?
I don't really want to throw GameStop under the bus, but look, I pre-ordered mine. I pre-ordered mine in May or June of last year. Whenever the first lockdown lifted and GameStop opened, I was there day one and threw down some money for a PS5. I ended up getting one day one, and then everyone else got to play it. All I've actually completed on the PS5 so far is Spider-Man Miles Morales, which was very good. But we could save that chat for another time as well.
I need to get that actually.
Um,
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it wasn't that. I think it's a digital code for that, so you're more than welcome to take a land of my account because
so
I'm not
don't
going to be
hear
using it.
this. Yeah, might take you up on that offer actually.
Hmm.
But yeah, so I did the opposite to you. I was hard headed and said I'm not pre-ordering the console because God knows which one will be best and what's going on, and no information had been really released until about September. And by then the official pre-order period had come and gone. So when I went into GameStop in October, I said, "Can I pre-order PS5?" He just looked at me and said, "Are you an idiot or what?" It's like, they're gone. You're not getting one. I said, "Oh, okay, fair enough." So so I put my money aside and got a RTX 3080 instead. And then when the
We
PS5
both
actually
did.
launched, we both did, but we both got them at different times. And yeah, so then I played the F5 game for about 2.5 weeks,
The F5.
and I successfully got the digital one on Amazon. And then 12 hours later, Smiths in Ireland put up the disc one. And even though the web page cancelled on me, the transaction still went through, and I got a disc one as
Oh,
well.
I didn't know that happened.
Yeah,
That's
it
lucky.
cancelled on me, and I was like, "Oh, that's grand. I'll
That's
leave it.
lucky.
Like, I have one." And then they text me 5 minutes later, being like, "That payment cleared. Your console will be in the post." Like, oh, now I have two of them.
Now I have to.
But yeah, so what's your experiences so far with the PS5?
So what's actually kind of funny thinking about that, talking about that, is that your PS5 experience was basically my graphics card experience, and your
Yes,
graphics card experience was my PS5 experience. So we did
yeah,
trade places on that.
we did.
I had a nightmare trying to get one of those goddamn cards, but not as bad as some people we know.
Yeah, especially now with the prices going up and
Mm,
talk of changing the silicone as well. So
fun times.
yeah,
But yeah, my next gen experience has been, yeah, I enjoyed what I've played next gen. Really, though, when you're on PC, next gen happened 7 years ago. So my real next gen experience has been with Cyberpunk and the ray tracing beauty that is, and we'd be here all night if I start talking about Cyberpunk. So I will try avoid that as much as possible. But the only real game I played on my PS5 was Miles Morales, which is beautiful, plays well, loads fast, very fast.
mm.
Um, and yeah, that's it. I need to put Ghost of Tsushima in, which also got a next gen upgrade, and also Demon Souls. But the controller's too pretty to be playing Demon Souls, to be fair. What's your
My
next gen
controller.
experience been?
Yeah, so I when I got it first, I was underwhelmed, and I think if anyone who has a PC or is a PC gamer
Yeah.
gets a PlayStation, they will be underwhelmed when they first see it because nothing. The UI is the same essentially, and the big upgrade
I
is
prefer
for.
the old UI.
I prefer the old UI too.
Yeah.
I prefer when I press the PlayStation button, I went to the home screen, not a docking
Mm-hmm.
thing at
It
the
will.
bottom.
Do you know what? There's a really simple fix to that. Just give us an option. Do
Yeah,
you want
just
to bring
switch.
up the dock, or do you want to go to the home screen?
Yeah, that's all. But I'll build the muscle memory before they do that,
Yeah.
and then
Oh
when they bring it
yeah.
in, I'll forget it again.
Yeah. Or
Uh,
press to bring up one, hold to bring up the other. Like it could have been. It could be very easily changed.
yeah, so I think anyone who has a PC will find playing the games somewhat underwhelming,
Mm,
because it's what you're probably used to if you have a medium tier PC.
that is
However,
segue.
However, if you have gone from PS4 or Xbox
Oh,
One,
definitely.
it is the biggest generational jump you will experience.
Yeah, I
Easily.
think that's something that Louise has actually really felt. 'Cause she was playing Crash Bandicoot. It's About Time on PS4, and like she played a couple other things on PS4, but when she put on Cyberpunk for the first time, she literally said, "What are people complaining about? This looks amazing!" So, and every so often, like I'd be just sitting there playing away, getting frustrated, soft resetting, and she go, "Can't look at that! Can't look at that!" Because it's and that's only the PS4 version of that game as
Yeah.
well. Just
So no
running
upgrade.
it, but it's running as it's supposed to run, as opposed to the Steam engine that could in the corner of the PS4 chugging along. The PS5
Well,
can actually support what Cyberpunk's trying to do.
so this is a question I have. The PS4 version of
Mm-hmm.
Cyberpunk on PS5, that's running in back compatibility mode, isn't it? No,
It is
no.
running the PS4 version.
Yeah, which is back compatibility mode,
Yes. It
which
is not
means
the PS5 version of the game.
no. So that means then it's actually running at 10 teraflops, which is the PS4 Pro GPU, which means it's not even accessing the PS5's full capabilities, which means obviously it will get better with a PS5 update,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still running at essentially what 60 to 70% of what the
67.
PS5's
Yeah.
like.
100%. And
That's
that
insane.
there's no ray tracing on it. Well, there's no actual ray tracing. The reflections are quite nice because the PS5's sitting there like, this is nice and easy. I can run you as hard as I want because you're nothing to me.
Yeah,
So it's when that's what I keep telling her as well. I'm like, just wait till the PS5 version comes out. It's gonna blow your mind. But then
yeah,
I just show her some PC screenshots and she hates me all over again.
good
So yeah,
relationship.
but
But I think that
there's not a whole lot else
no,
next gen out at the moment. Like we can really only speak from a PS5 player point of view, or because we don't have Xboxes. Our Xbox is
PC.
an RTX running machine. So, but I think the medium on PS5 as well, or is that an Xbox only? I can't
Oh,
remember.
that's a good question. I
I think I'm getting
think
like I
Xbox
think it's
exclusive.
I don't know. Anyway, but in
I think
terms of next gen Xbox games, there's nothing. Whereas
so far.
on PS5, we've got Demon Souls, which looks stunning, especially because From Software games usually don't go for that graphical fidelity until Bloodborne and Sekiro kind of did, but the Dark Souls games are kind of. They don't really go for that, wow, look at me, they're kind of dark and dreary. It's a nice
Yeah.
change. And then obviously, Miles Morales looks stunning in either performance mode or quality mode.
Mm.
Um, but the other PS5 games that are due out, Ratchet and Clank hasn't got a release date yet. That should have got a release date by now if it's due out in the PS5 launch window. But
Yeah, like I think COVID has really messed up with a lot of game development cycles, and we're only going to start seeing some of that
100%,
this year and next
yeah,
year.
100%. Because if you really think about anything that came out up till now, including Hitman and Medium that came out today or whenever it comes this week,
28th.
they would have been in at the end of their development cycle, whereas anything that was a bit further back, they're all getting pushed back. Anything that needs a lot of work done is getting pushed back 6 months to a year, easily. It's going to be
Easily.
a long year for games announcements and developments, which is nice that we actually got a couple of nice new announcements this week. To be fair,
Yeah. So it will be a quiet year, I'd say, but hopefully with the blockbusters dropping in, we've Hitman 3 apparently is getting great reviews.
yeah, I want to play it, but I also want to still have to play the first two from this trilogy. So
Yeah.
add them to the catalog, put them top of that catalog. It's long enough.
But look, since I think we've talked out next gen. Let's go back, maybe old school further. Who knows? Maybe it's all new gen. Let's look at our top fives.
Top fives. Okay, so you won the coin toss that I just made up, so we let you go first. Before we start, we gave ourselves a couple of little rules to follow when doing our favorite games. Obviously, if Steven picks one, I'll pick something else, and vice versa. And we've also tried to not take from the same game
Franchise.
franchise. So, for example, we're not going to include Batman Arkham Asylum, Arkham Knight, and Arkham City, and that takes up 3 of our 5. So if Steven says something from one game franchise, I'll try to skip over it and just leave it an honorable mention. So, Steven, what's your first choice on your favorite 5 games of all time? And we'll end up on 10, by the way. We'll make a top 10, so it's 5 each, not 5 total.
So I know what I want to say because I want to block you from saying it, but I won't. What I will actually say instead is a game that I have strangely very fond memories of, but to this day just can't
Larry's
play.
Pleasure Suite, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah, it's Larry's Pleasure Suite. It's actually Silent Hill 2.
Ooh.
And Silent Hill 2 came out in 2002, 2001. So I was 11, 12 at the time playing it.
Is Silent Hill a PS1 or PS2 game?
Silent Hill 2 was PS2, and
Okay,
Silent Hill
sorry.
1 was PS1.
For some reason, I thought it was PS1, but
Yeah, the first one was in 1999, I think.
fair enough.
I didn't play that one. I played Silent Hill 2, and I've no idea how, but 11-year-old Stephen had balls of steel because 30-year-old Stephen won't touch that game.
Is that where all your hair went?
Hey. This is supposed to be a nice, easy, relaxing podcast.
Oh, sorry. I thought when you said you were trying to block me in my top 5, I thought we were playing a game of chess. Sorry, my bad.
So, Silent Hill 2 for me has really fond memories of a game that I was too young to comprehend, but I was fascinated with the monster design, the story that was going on, that I had genuinely no idea why things were happening, or like the sense of what was actually going on with this pyramid-shaped monster who was going around supposedly to kill me, but was also actually antagonizing the other monsters. And none of it made sense. I went through the game, got to the end, did the thing at the end, and got the worst ending, which, if anyone knows, is called the water ending, or in water ending. I was like, this is really depressing. Why did I play this game? And it twigged with me when I went to play it again, because I'd read there were other endings. What kept me in the game, and it was the music. Akira Yamamoto, I'm butchering the name, he's one of my top favorite artists of all time. The intro to Silent Hill 2, I think it's called The Team of Laura, is one of my favorite songs ever, and the whole original soundtrack just brings back all these memories of childhood, youth, but
childhood youth playing Silent Hill.
Yeah, exactly. But then what happened later on was they had the HD releases in like 2008 or something. I played them again, and I understood what was going on, and I was like, wow, like there's so much hidden meaning. It wasn't really hidden. It was really obvious, but to me it made no sense. But it was just completely like a whole new world. I was like, video games are more than just go around killing things. They tell these stories, and they can make you feel things with music. So that was my first real experience. I went, wow, this isn't just Super Mario where I run and jump for coins, whatever. Like, this is a proper experience. So that's my first one.
I think I may have played a bit of. I don't play horror games really. I'm a complete wuss. I'll be the first to say that. Like, as far as I could go is The Last of Us, which isn't really a horror, but I seem to remember having Silent Hill 2 on a demo disc that I got with the old PlayStation magazine.
Yes.
And I did play it and shat myself fairly quickly and never played it again, because I would have been, 9 or 10? But yeah. I do have a recollection of having played some of Silent Hill. It was either Silent Hill 2 or one of the Resi Evils. But it came with the old demo disc of the PlayStation magazine. And now I know why the magazine had a 15's rating. But
oh yeah.
Yeah. But here was me 9 years old in '01. That's where
Back before those
Whitehair
laws
went.
were.
That's where these greys came in. But yes, I have never played a Silent Hill game, and I don't plan on it. Even
That's fair
if
enough.
Kojima-san releases one eventually.
Oh yeah. Oh
When
PT. Don't start in PT. Come on, give me your next one.
I want to change. I want to change what I said. Right. So I don't know if this was the one that you were going to teave on me, but it's probably my favorite game of all time, and it's The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. I and I just took that off your list,
Yeah.
but I played Oblivion up until I played Oblivion. I hadn't played any real RPGs ever. I would have been 14, I think. I would have been. It was junior cert year, which explains why I did so fucking bad in my junior cert. But because remember the Xbox 360 came out, and then like a year later the PS3 came out. It was like there was a big gap between the two consoles coming out. So
Yeah.
Oblivion was delayed on PS3. So I got it for PS3. It was at a difficult time in my life where family stuff was going on, so it was a lovely distraction. But up until that point, I hadn't really played a game like that. I played sports games with my brother. I played GTA as a kid. I played some stuff, but Oblivion. I turned it on, named my character, and just fell in love with this game. It was the first game I pumped several hundred hours into it, and I think my completion ended up at like 96 point something percent. So I really sunk time into that. But yeah, it was just the story, the character building, the Thieves Guild was fantastic. The missions there, and then the Dark Brotherhood missions were
Yes.
great.
Yes.
I remember I came across the quest where you can become a vampire, and I was like, "Oh my god, I get to be a vampire!" And it was great. And then I realized that it was completely fucking myself over. I meant I got these great stats, but I couldn't go out during the day anymore, which kind of
Yeah.
sucked. But yeah,
Who knew?
who knew? Um, and then obviously Skyrim came out 20 times a few years later, but it didn't grip me the same way Oblivion did. Oblivion, I just loved Oblivion. Um, I also learned how bad over leveling can be because I remember in Oblivion you could just it would that you could stand in a hut, stand in a house, and just throw fireballs at a wall all day, and it would level your stat up.
I
But
didn't know
then,
that now.
yeah, and you could just heal yourself over and over again, and it would raise your healing stat, which in turn raised your overall character level. So here I was that I could heal myself and I could throw fireballs, but I got one shot by fucking everything. So yeah, that was frustrating. But yeah.
I yeah, Elder Oblivion is the king of the Elder Scrolls for
Uh,
me.
it,
I
it
love
does depend on who you speak to, though. If you speak to anybody that's a couple of years older than us, they'll say Morrowind.
Morrowind is
But Morrowind
fantastic.
aged bad.
I mean, so did Oblivion, but Morrowind is
Oblivion
awful.
didn't age as bad as you think. I played it the other day and I was like expecting it to be horrendous. And I was like, okay, the character models are a bit weird, the faces are horrendous, but the actual game still looks nice. And
Yeah, and the gameplay is great, and
the
that's
game is
the big
great.
draw of that.
Yeah.
Like, um, but for me, like Oblivion, as amazing as Oblivion was, the thing in Oblivion that got me was Sheogorath, that Shimmering
No,
Isles
Shivering
DLC.
Isles is one of the best DLCs ever
That
in any
was
game.
that
Shivering
for me was the best part
Yeah.
of Oblivion.
Yeah.
Just he was
Shivering.
such a well fleshed out character who was absolutely batshit insane, and you
Mm-hmm.
knew he was going to do something wrong, and you
Mm-hmm.
still did everything anyway. You just
He
couldn't help
reminds
it.
me, the character of Shiogora reminds me of Foxy. You know Foxy that we play with sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he reminds me. He's got that same kind of voice. It's but sorry, Foxy, but
You might not hear this anyway, so that's fine.
nah, he may not hear it anyway, so it doesn't matter. He's used to being bullied. But yeah, Oblivion would be. It changes from day to day, but it's probably the fondest memories I have of a game I've ever played. It was just
Yeah,
Yeah.
it came out
First
at the
cut's
right
the
time for me
deepest.
as well.
Oh, it,
Yeah,
it it came out the perfect time for me. Like, ironically, the PS3 also came out the perfect time for me because it was when my parents were going through their whole separation. So I was like, oh, my parents are separated, but I got a PS3, and now I have
that's a fair deal.
Oblivion.
Yeah,
So I just like we just moved out to where my mom was going to be living, and then did my junior cert, and the junior cert ended, and I bought Oblivion. So I knew nobody where I was living, but I knew a couple, but not that well. But so I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna sink all my time into Oblivion, and it was fond memories. I've tried to go back several times, and it's never the same. But hopefully, Sky Oblivion. Hopefully, Sky
yes.
Oblivion comes
Oh,
out sometime this decade, and we get to experience that story again. Because just hearing that soundtrack last week from the gameplay quest video they did, just hearing that soundtrack made me a little bit
yeah.
emotional.
No, that's yeah. If that comes out, game of the decade, hopefully.
Mod of the decade.
Yeah.
I will give you a laugh though. I was looking on Nexus at mods of Oblivion, and there was a texture mod on Nexus. So the game file for Oblivion is 5.5 gigabytes. The
Mm.
texture mod I was looking at was bigger. It was bigger than the actual game file, which is also a 5.5 gigabyte game file is insanity to think about at this stage.
That's like PS2 level stuff. Like
It's
that's a
crazy.
CD disc.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's five and a
Yeah,
half gigabytes. Like that's you could fit like 40 Oblivions inside Call of Duty at this stage.
I would take 40 Oblivions over Call of
Oh
Duty at
yeah,
this
I
stage.
I take one Oblivion over Call of Duty at any stage.
Um, yeah, actually, so I'm just looking at my list and trying to think what I want to pick next. And this one's going to be slightly controversial, and I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's definitely one I always keep going back to. So I'm going to pull from my Final Fantasy repertoire now,
Oh
and I'm going to
no.
say, yeah, I'm blocking you now with this one. I'm going to say that my favorite, all things considered, is Final Fantasy X.
Final Fantasy X. Oh, that was not one I thought you'd go to now.
So seven is definitely my, that's my my home. Like it's where I live. I live in Final Fantasy VII. I love that one. But 10 for me was like, I remember, like you were saying, I got a demo disc for Final Fantasy X
Do you know
from
what? I
PlayStation.
probably have it as well then.
Yeah. And I remember just playing that constantly, just going through. I just completed Final Fantasy IX, and I was just playing the demo disc over and over again. I was like, look at these graphics, look at the voice acting. Like it changed what Final Fantasy was. There was this fully voice acted game where you got a sense of who the characters were, um, and the situation they were in, and the spear grid system was just amazing. I loved the ability to just go around the grid and match up with other characters and what they had. And
Butt pics on.
I do I?
Get the butt pics on webcam. Sorry, go on.
And the music again. I think I have this thing with music and games. If the music
Oh yeah.
touches you a certain way, you'll always remember that game. And for me, 10 to Zanarkand will always nearly constantly bring a tear to my eye. I remember going to the orchestra in London in 2016, and they opened with Zanarkand, and
Oh
Deirdre,
wow.
my wife, who has no idea about games, or I dragged her over because I was like, I'm not going on my own. Like, come with me to do this.
You have
Um,
someone now.
I know it's great, but I
Yeah.
brought her. We sat down and like came on, and I started like tearing up, and she looked at me and went, "The fuck is wrong with you?" Like there are these animated characters like Ewan is doing her sending, and Tidus is. They showed a bit where something happens at the end, and I was just sitting there, I was getting all emotional, and she's like, "Seriously, cop on, what's wrong with you?" And then she fell asleep halfway through it.
So
So
she's
you're
not
coming
been
with me
brought
next
to
time.
another orchestra. It is a
No.
pity though that we can't get to the one in London this year with everything going on.
Yeah,
But I
I
am
wouldn't.
looking forward to the one in the stream from Tokyo now.
Oh, we will talk about
We will
that
get
again.
back to that. But as you're talking about it, here's a relic from a golden
Yes.
age.
Yes. I have 1 through 9 all on PS1. And I still have them
Nice.
somewhere in the bed behind me here.
I think the craziest bit about this for me is it's a PS1 game with 3 discs.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just kept just for memories. Do you know what? I actually remember somebody. When I was a kid, I would have been 7 or 8. I wouldn't have really known a lot about gaming, but a new kid moved into the estate that I lived in, and he was a massive gamer. Like he was a humongous gamer. Like we all thought we loved games. This guy came out with a fucking box about that big, full of games. And he also had, it was all the Final Fantasies on PS1. And we all went, yeah, Final Fantasy, what is that nonsense? That's not FIFA.
And what's your next game, Kev, you're going to say? Would it be
It's
a Final
FIFA.
Fantasy?
Yeah. But no, I haven't. Do you know what? I didn't think you were going to say 10. Like when you start
No.
with Final Fantasy, I was like, he's going to say 7. And when you didn't say 7, I'm like, it might be the remake. Or 8 or 6, because they're the 3 that people would usually go for, is 6, 7, or 8. Or obviously Final Fantasy 14, the MMO. Whereas
Yeah.
everyone's real favorite is Final Fantasy 13, because everyone loves the Corridor Simulator.
I really, really like 13. I don't get the
You
hate
just
for
like
it.
it because the lead character's female.
Maybe. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good point. But yeah, no, I hopefully they rearrange the orchestra for next year, and hopefully all this nonsense is blown over a little bit, and we can get to it because that would be awesome.
Yep. And if we have
I will
lots of
tear up with you.
oh, don't do that. It'd be too easy.
Right, so my next game, it I won't say the Final Fantasy VII Remake. That's going to be an honorable mention because it was such a fantastically well done job, and the two of us could probably sit here and talk about it for an hour or 2 hours by itself. So I won't ring that one in, but it is a fantastic game. I'll go with Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater.
Oh, I knew you were going to pick a Metal Gear. I did
Yeah.
not think 3.
I go with Metal Gear. My favorite one is Snake Eater because the first one I played was MGS2 Guns of Patriots. Funny story about how I was introduced to that game. And I loved Guns of the Patriots, but I was a little bit young to, like you with Silent Hill, I was a little bit young to understand completely what was going on.
Sorry, do you understand what's going on now?
That's a fair point, but I don't know what, I would have been 9 or 10 probably when I first played Guns of the Patriots. But
you mean Metal Gear Solid 2, yeah?
Yeah, Metal Gear Solid 2.
Yeah, because Guns of the Patriots is number 4.
Sorry. That's true. Guns of the Patriots number 4. Sorry, I've had it wrong completely the whole time. Restart the podcast. Wind it all the way back. Sons of Liberty. Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty. Sorry. I was a bit young to understand what was going on in that. But me and my friend it had just come out. One of my mates was obsessed with it, but couldn't afford to play because we were kids, so his parents couldn't afford to buy it for him at the time. But we knew someone that had got it, so we went into their house. There was nothing weird about that. They were a couple of years older than us, and we just sat there watching him play Metal Gear Solid 2 all day. My older cousin had been playing it as well, which is why I also became obsessed with it. But we were sitting in the house all day watching this guy play Metal Gear Solid 2. I hadn't told my parents where I was. I was maybe 10 or 11, I think. I don't know when Metal Gear Solid 2 came out. So I would have been quite young. So Not to my knowledge, my mom and dad were out searching for me for hours. It came out in 2001, so I would have been 10. So my mom was panicking trying to find me. Next, I just stroll back and knock on their front door of the house, and I got a hiding from them. Not literally, but I was in quite a bit of trouble over that. But I love watching Metal Gear Solid 2. So eventually, I ended up getting it for my birthday or for Christmas or something, and that was great. But we've completely sidetracked. Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. After loving 2 and going back and playing the first one, I was so hyped when Snake Eater was coming out, and it did not disappoint. It was phenomenal. My favorite memory of the whole game was the end boss fight.
Yeah.
The old sniper. So the guy where he will hide and you have to try find him, and if he sees you, he moves and whatever, he kills you, whatever. The one where you can turn your game off for a week, turn it back on, and he's dead. I was looking for him everywhere. I couldn't find him. And I was looking around for a while, and then I looked down, and he was just lying in the grass at my feet, and I just bang, snipe in the head, dead. But yeah, that was a great game. If I could remaster any game from my childhood, it'd be that. I'd remaster
Oh,
Metal Gear Solid 3.
okay.
Play through that in full HD with like new graphics, new everything. I'd love it. But that's never gonna happen because Konami bad and Kojima good, God, whichever, depending on who you talk to.
Yeah.
But
I just, as you're saying about Snake Eater, like, I agree. I played 2 and I loved 2. I know it gets a lot of hate for
it
Ryan,
gets a
but
lot of hate for Raiden, but I loved it.
2, maybe it's because I didn't play 1 first, to be fair, so I
Yeah, needed to die.
didn't have that affinity with Snake. It was cool, but I didn't have it. But 3, yeah, 3 just knocked it up. And I'll always like that scene going up the ladder with the music for Snake Eater just kicking in as you're going up.
You know what? You
That's
didn't steal my game, but you stole my point. I was gonna touch on that the soundtrack. What you were saying about Final Fantasy X and Silent Hill, the soundtrack. The soundtrack for Snake Eater was. I still listen to it every so often. To put Snake Eater on. Louise would be looking at me like, "What the fuck song is this?" Like, it's Metal Gear Solid. Stop talking. Yeah. And then that boss fight with, well, the boss. Yeah, it was great.
yeah.
Mm.
And even actually later on going down the river when you're fighting the Sorrow, is it?
Oh, do you know what? I honestly can't remember. I won't even try to pretend that I can remember the whole game
Yeah. But
because
there's a
it
part
was.
where you go down a river and you're fighting whoever the one is who's dead, basically.
Oh yeah, I
And
remember.
if you kill enemies along the way, their ghosts appear in the
Mm.
river and try to stop you.
It's just to think that a PS2 could achieve that
Yeah,
is nuts.
exactly.
Obviously, if you look back now, you're like, "Yeah, those graphics, what are they? They look like Cyberpunk on a base PS4." But yeah, it was phenomenal. It was a phenomenal game. And
Yeah,
obviously,
it really
Guns of the
was.
Patriots was also awesome, and I look forward to that. And I, we went to Wexford or Sligo for like a weekend away, and it was torrential rain all weekend. But Metal Gear Solid 4 had come out that Friday, and we stopped by Game on the way to Sligo, and I just played Metal Gear Solid all weekend. I didn't sleep. It was amazing. I cleared it in like one sitting, pretty much. I cleared the whole game. And I honestly I can't recall any of that game because it was just a 26-hour sitting complete. I can't remember it. It was also great.
Let's do a replay, so.
Yeah,
Um,
come on, Kojima or PlayStation, buy Konami and let Kojima have all the stuff back.
make Konami great again.
Just give them a pachinko machine. They'll be happy.
Oh, Jesus.
So
Um,
that's
yes,
2 each, yeah. That's 4.
that's 2. So my next one, I'm going to. Yeah, I'm gonna put this one in. It's I don't think it's one of my top 5, but it's definitely one that I really enjoyed.
It's not the game,
And
Stephen.
huh?
That's not the game.
Well, it's definitely my favorite of this franchise, and it's Spider-Man: Web of Shadows.
Okay.
Did you ever play Web of Shadows?
I did not.
Web of Shadows is the greatest Spider-Man game ever. Now,
You're saying it's better than the 2 new ones.
yes.
Are you saying it's better than the movie adaptation PS2 games? They were also great.
I actually didn't play them, to be fair,
They
so I
were
will
great.
reserve judgment until I play those.
I'll give you a round.
So, what was amazing about this one was you played as Peter Parker when he gets the symbiote. So you could switch between red suit and black suit
Yes.
on the fly. So you could be in the middle of a combo, switch with your or thumbstick into black suit Spider-Man and start hammering out a new like tendril combo or something. And they brought in characters from X-Men and from the extended universe in general, and it worked really well with the story they had. And it was the first time where you could like kind of fly in the open city. You could run on the ground properly without having some sort of stupid death mechanic. And it was just it was the first time that I played a superhero game and actually felt like the superhero. So for me, that's up there for that reason alone.
I mean, that's what generally, if you speak to someone nowadays, that's what defines a good superhero game. You feel like the Batman. You feel like Spider-Man. It's like, no, I feel like a fat mess sitting on my sofa.
Mashing triangle to dodge all the
dodge. Yeah. I also, just for the record, I don't hold a PS5 controller like this. But yeah, I never played Web of Shadows, so I don't even know what it's about. Honestly, it's the first I heard of the game, to be honest with you. I'm a rookie, amateur gamer.
Yeah, so that's my third pick.
But yeah, just to touch back on the so generally games to movies don't go very well, but also movies to games also don't ever go very well. But the Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2 PS2 games that were basically the movie promotional games.
Oh,
they were excellent.
The original Spider-Man.
The original. Tobey Maguire one.
I tell you on about the Amazing Spider-Man type.
No.
I played the original too. Yeah, no.
They're like the Star Wars prequels. They don't exist.
Yeah, no. For me, Web of Shadows is better.
Okay. Yeah. They were phenomenal. I remember the Doc Ock fight on Spider-Man 2 with my brother in the next room. Kev, I can't beat this. Expletive. So yeah, I was the big brother who completed bosses that he couldn't complete. It was great.
While bashing triangle like this.
While bashing triangle. My controller's better.
Ew.
It's the Cyberpunk one.
Ugh. Xbox.
Well, I also have a Switch Pro controller here that has dust on it because who uses a Switch Pro controller? But yeah, okay, so that's your third one.
Yep.
I'm trying to spread mine out a bit here. I want to touch on like my favorite franchises as well as my favorite games. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna keep it in the early 2000s here. I already spoke about shiny hunting and not getting the shiny I want. This is gonna be a bit controversial, but my third pick and my favorite Pokemon game was Gold and Silver. Now, people say Soul Silver and Heart Gold are great, and the Sinnoh games are great. I obviously was introduced to Pokemon Blue and Red and Yellow as a 7-year-old or whatever it was. But Gold and Silver they were amazing. And I remember playing through it. They were great. 100 new Pokemon. That was great. But the best part, and the part that really was after you beat the Elite Four, and then you're like, I'm finished the game. That's a bit crap. And you get back to your hometown and they're like, now you have to go to Kanto. And you had 2 games in one. So you had the new region, the new 8 badges, and the new Elite Four. You also had the original 8. It was like, and I wish that's what Pokemon was now, even. I wouldn't even care if it took 10 years to release it. Go back to the original, make it an MMO, give us Kanto. I hope I'm saying it the right way around, by the way.
I think so.
Is it Kanto first? I'm tired. I haven't had dinner.
Kanto's the first region, yeah.
Kanto is definitely the first region, yes. It's gotta be.
Hmm.
Yes, it is. Just to confirm that before we get shot down. So yeah, so after you go through the new Johto region, you've got your 100 Pokemon, that leads you right back to the old original Pallet Town, and you work your way back. You don't go to Pallet Town, you start at Meridian on this one, but you work your whole way back around. I can't remember what happens at the end. But yeah, Gold and Silver was amazing. And I've got a heartwarming story and a heartbreaking story all wrapped up in one. So on
Oh,
Pokemon Silver, I managed to get all 251 back in the day, legally. And about 2 days after I got all 251 Pokemon, somebody stole my game. And I never got it back. There was no shinies on it, so it's okay.
that's
Jeff,
awful.
someone stole my Pokemon Silver, and
And when you say stole it, was it stolen like out of your house, so it's someone you kind of know, or was it you were out in the street
it
and
was either in
somehow
my
lost?
house or in school.
Bastards.
So it was someone I knew. But anyway, Jeff, that's what I wish they'd do with, like, don't get me wrong, Sword and Shield, despite the flack they got, they're good games.
Yeah.
But they are, it could be so much more at this stage. Like, if you really look at it, the graphics are better than they were back then. Obviously, it's not black and white anymore. But the actual game itself, now I could face a lot of backlash from people who play competitively and that on this, but the actual games haven't come as far as they should have. I still love them, but they play it safe. Could you imagine an MMO or an expansive RPG where you start in the Kanto region, you get your 8 badges, you have the original 151. I mean, you could even do like an MMO where you have a raid. Like, could you imagine going in with 5 of your buddies into the Cerulean Cave, and as a team, you have to battle your way through that cave. You've got, I don't know, you fight against something powerful, another thing powerful, and then Mewtwo is the end raid boss, and it'd be incredible. But it's never going to happen because Nintendo don't want that. And yeah,
I'd never, like, I can honestly say I never actually thought of Pokemon being an MMO. But when you say it, it's probably the prime candidate
it'd be
to be.
incredible. It'd be the most popular game in the world.
Yeah. Now, figuring out how you know, reward playtime and so on with the game mechanics would be somewhat challenging. But I do think at its very heart, it is probably the ideal game to
Yeah,
make an
it'd be an
MMO.
insane MMO. It really would.
Yeah.
And the thing, you wouldn't even have to deep dive on it the way Final Fantasy XIV does, or WoW. You could have a Destiny style level of MMO, and
Mhm.
people would go fucking ape for that. It'd be Black
Yeah.
Friday every day of the week.
Yeah. Oh no, that'd be
And then
okay.
they could build on it. They could bring out the Kanto region, then
Yeah.
Sinnoh, and keep going all the way through it. It'd be incredible.
Yeah. There's your expansions.
And you could also have your shiny chance of, when you're doing Mewtwo, for example, you would do with all the glass in Destiny back in the day. Oh my god, I got Galahorn. Whereas with you, like, oh my god, I got Mewtwo with this ability or this move or the shiny, and
Yeah.
it'd be insane.
And MMOs
Do it,
like
do it, Game Freak.
yeah.
I'll give you that one for free.
We know you're listening, Game Freak.
Yeah.
Do it. But like
Do it,
MMOs,
Game Freak. Watches all my ads on Facebook for the next week are for MMOs, Raid Shadow Legends, and shit like that. Can't wait.
or you can start Final
Actually,
Fantasy 14.
oh, that funny. Actually, I say that you were saying that we could record this through Discord or Zoom. I opened up Facebook 20 minutes later, and there was an ad for Zoom. I got an email an hour later. Have 25% off Zoom.
I got that email as well.
Maybe it's a coincidence. I'm onto you, Mark.
It's a coincidence that they listen to us at the exact time.
Right? Yeah. Because
Okay,
WhatsApp is owned by Facebook. Get out of my messages.
okay, Pokemon MMO. We want it. I'm in.
We want it. I'm in, and I'll never play another game if you give me that.
So actually, now that you were saying about Pokemon, so I loved Pokemon as well. But for me, there was a game on the PS1 back then.
Say it.
That hit me for my
Say
Pokemon.
it.
It was Yu-Gi-Oh! Forbidden Memories, not Digimon. I knew you were thinking Digimon.
Damn it.
No, I'm not a Digimon person, unfortunately.
Damn it. Although I did play that Yu-Gi-Oh game and it was great.
I loved Yu-Gi-Oh!
However, the first one that came out on PS2, while it wasn't as good a story game,
Julius of the Roses or something.
Julius of the Roses, they fixed the whole battling thing, and that was great. But yes, I did play Forbidden Memories, and I have that somewhere in my house.
So do I. I still have it here.
It's in my. It's on the bottom shelf of the bookshelf in my bedroom in my dad's house. I can see it right now.
What I loved about it was just how broken the summoning system, or not summoning system, the fusion system was. Like, you didn't need polymerization. So I could get my twin-headed double dragon with another twin-headed double dragon, put them together, and get the triple-headed behemoths, whatever it was. He'd like 3,500 attack and defense, and just wipe them out.
Yeah.
So you just build a deck around getting him out as quick as you can, and you win. And it was amazing. I loved it. So for me, that was... I had Pokemon Red and Yellow and loved them, but I actually never got into Gold and so on. But for me, my like hunting was trying to hunt the twin-headed behemoth, whatever he was, in Off Your Man, Heisen, whatever his name was, trying to beat him over and over again to get the cards, and that took forever. So that was my Pokemon alike experience.
Yeah, I did play that game. My mate Jono, me and him got big into Yu-Gi-Oh! So everyone was still into Pokemon. We got into Yu-Gi-Oh! Before you could even get the cards here. That's not a humble brag, it totally is. But it got to the point that you could, like, Yu-Gi-Oh! There was such a demand for Yu-Gi-Oh! But it hadn't really come to Ireland. That game, the old game shop in Blanche, started buying in Japanese printed Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards. Because they couldn't get the English ones. So they just start getting Japanese. So I actually have Japanese Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards from like the late 90s sitting in my dad's house in my old bedroom. I got nothing good, so it's not that exciting, but
I say they're still worth a pretty penny now.
I still have all my old cards, but there's no like first editions or anything like that. So, and I didn't look after my Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards the same way as I did Pokemon cards, because we actually battled with Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards because it was a much simpler game to play. But yeah,
which is funny because like it's actually quite a complex game. But then Pokemon is such an easy video game and the most horrendous card game to try and get into.
There's a lot going on in Pokemon.
Especially as kids, like we would have been between 7 to 12.
It's like, we're just not using no energy cards, just go with what's on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I do play that sometimes though, the online card game, because you can get the app. And when you buy a pack of Pokemon cards, you get like the barcode on the back of them that you can scan them into the game.
Oh, no way.
So I play that the odd time. I remember I was playing someone not long ago that we just started in. I don't have a clue what I'm doing in that. I haven't played it enough. And he just sent me a message as we started playing. The cards came out, we each got our hands, and I got just a message saying, sorry. I went, like, what? What's this guy on about? Sorry. I didn't even get a move. He beat me in one turn.
Do you remember what it was?
It was something to do with Mew. I don't know what it was. I couldn't keep up. It was just too quick. It was over. I went, all right, well, that's that then. I'm going back to Destiny, where I can actually win.
Yeah. So,
but also, the Pokemon trading card game for Game Boy, that was a great game as well back in the day. They released a trading card game for Game Boy, and it was excellent.
Yeah, I don't think
I'm pretty sure. I'm actually pretty sure they re-released it on the Nintendo 3DS store a couple of years ago.
Can't say I've any memories of it now. I remember seeing the game, but never
Yeah.
played it.
No, it was good. It was quite good. It was difficult. Yeah.
So that's my number 4, Yu-Gi-Oh! Forbidden Memories.
Okay. Getting down to the business end of things. Oh. I'm gonna leave one of mine out in the hope that you're gonna include it. But we're going obvious. We both play it.
This one
We
I thought you
already
were going
said it's how we met,
to
and it has to be included. I know it goes through its issues and it's had a rough 6.5 years and peaks and valleys but we love it and we love to hate it and we hate to love it. Destiny. Um, Destiny was the first game that I will put my hand up and say I was addicted to, and still am to an extent. And poor
Yeah.
Louise, our anniversary is the same week as when Destiny came out. So she made a mistake. But yeah, like I've got, I don't know, 4,000, nearly 5,000 hours across the two games over the last 6.5 years.
Yeah.
But whatever about the game itself, it's the people. It's cliche to say it, but it's the people that we've met playing. It's the people that are gonna be lifelong friends because we played it. It's the memories we all have from playing it that even when it's in a poor state, which I actually disagree. I think it's in a fine state at the moment, but Twitter would disagree with me. Um, it's just the memories of it. Just I remember playing the alpha. Yeah, I played the alpha. I'm gonna brag about that shit.
Same. Yeah.
I'll actually go back further. I hadn't really been keeping track. I saw Destiny announce that 2013 E3, maybe 12. It's one or the other. Where they had Jason Jones on stage showing it off, and it was the cringiest fucking shit ever. But the guy killed. It was they went through the wall from the first at the start, and the guy dropped Thunderlord, and then they went out and they took on a Devil Walker, and someone was like, "Oh, look at my Gallowhorn." Little did we know what that would bring, happiness and pain wise. But I never really kept up with it. And then I had a friend that used to go into the gym that I used to work in, and the alpha was coming up in a couple of weeks, and he's like, "Yeah, are you getting Destiny?" I was like, "What the fuck is Destiny?" Because I'd forgotten about it. And he's like, "Oh, it's this shooting game," and he completely oversold what this game was. He was like, "We're gonna start on Earth, and then we're gonna go to the moon, and then we're gonna go to every planet in the solar system across the next 10 years, and you're gonna do this, and you've got raids." And so I thought that I thought we were getting No Man's Sky, but in Destiny. But I played the alpha and immediately became I put the alpha was out for what 3 days or 4 days. I put about 40 hours in over those 2 days. It was just I became obsessed with this game straight away. I remember doing Sepix Prime for the first time in the alpha with my mate, and we were on the Devil Walker of Sepix for about 2 hours because we were completely underleveled with shit white weapons and crap armor. And eventually, after about 4 hours, we beat. So we played through it a bit, took a break to go eat dinner, came back. This is a strike, by the way, not a raid. And we beat Sepix after about 4.5 hours of gameplay. And we both just had to we can't wait for this game to come out. And then it came out, and here we are 6.5 years later, and it still feels like it's 2014.
Yeah, like Destiny 1 for me. So between the two, objectively, Destiny 2 is the better game. You know, it's runs better, gunplay is tighter, all that. Destiny 1 is the nostalgia game for me.
It's the rose tinted glasses. Yeah,
it is. Now, if they remade Destiny 1 and brought it to PC, Luke Smith
uninstall Destiny 2. I will actually throw money at my screen, Luke Smith.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. He's listening right now. Luke, just make it happen. Okay? That's all you have to do. But for me, that came at the time when I was doing my PhD. So it was equal amounts dangerous, but also equal amounts liberating, because I'd be going in, dreading every day, isolating yourself. It's basically what I do now. But back then, like, you weren't getting paid. You were just going in, drudging away at literature, at like doing research, at just getting shouted at by your supervisors and
And
usual
now you get
shite.
shouted at by me.
I didn't know you back then, so I didn't get shouted at you.
Everyone else did.
But that game, just, it was always go home, get dinner, turn it on, and there was always a group of friends online, ready to raid, ready to play, ready to do whatever, and it was
insane back in the day. It was
Yeah.
like anyone want to raid, and you had 5 people in a minute. It was nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I couldn't log in 2014, 2015, 2016 without getting like. I actually had to turn off notifications on my PS4 because it was like, oh, let's do a raid, let's do this, let's do trials, let's do this. It was insane.
Yeah, that will always be up there as not my all-time favorite game because it's the best game, but because it's the game that has had the most impact.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, it definitely has molded a large portion of my life anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And as an extension to Destiny, going to Guardian Con was an amazing experience.
I will never get over the fact you got to do that.
It was the Guardian Con I went to was the one in the mid or during Rise of Iron before Destiny 2 came out. I think. It couldn't have been.
I think it was 2016 you went.
Yeah, it was 20. It would have been 2016 because Trials. Yeah. So like, yeah, that was an incredible trip. Like literally sitting in the Hard Rock Cafe in Tampa with basically the entire Destiny fucking directory in this one restaurant. I remember like there was a band on stage and me and my buddy got chatting to the lead singer and we were requesting songs all night. It was basically play Chris Cornell this, play Chris Cornell that, and he was like, I can't sing Chris Cornell, I don't have the range for that. But he was like, why is here anyway? He's like, you're Irish, why are you here? And I said I was over for a gaming convention, the Destiny, or it was Guardian Con. And I remember he went on stage and says, who here is from Guardian Con? And literally the whole restaurant just went, yeah! It was pretty great.
You basically had your own little tower going on.
Yeah, we had our own tower where everyone actually loaded into it. There was no emoting on tables though.
That was before paid emoting.
Before paid emoting, but yeah, it was nuts. Just meeting all the people that meeting the people you watch, the people you'd hear about in the directory, people you follow on Twitter, and just because it was Guardian Con was still in its infancy, it was very informal. It wasn't like a table between you and it was like, oh, nice to meet you, and 2 minutes and you get pushed along, unless you went to Dado's line because that was the length from here to Costa and back. But it was really informal, where you'd be speaking to somebody who you watched on Twitch or you'd followed on Twitter, and they'd be standing right beside you, just chatting away, just having a normal conversation. It was insane.
And it's mad because these are just they're normal people,
and that was the thing. It was they're just normal people, exactly. Like, I think that's.
But to us in the community, they're actually sort of celebrities, but
they're like, leader, we love you. Yeah.
But look, we could talk about Destiny.
Oh yeah, I think we should really wait for Dylan to be on, and we can actually have a proper chat about Destiny, because it's so many. Like, we could literally just do a fucking whole podcast on memories, funny, great, bad. Kev not getting his Gallarhorn until Easter of 2015, despite having platinumed the game over Christmas.
Actually,
Crota was out.
Let's save that for when Dale's on, because I think that we all probably have some great.
Oh yeah, I have some funny ones.
Yeah,
I remember listening. I will touch on a quick one. I remember listening to a guy break his patio furniture because he fucked up in a raid. That was great, and Griff will back up that one because no names on it, but someone got a bit pissed off and.
Is it someone I know? Because
no, it's no one you know. It's no one.
It's someone who I could have imagined it was.
Nah, you don't know that. It was back in. It was when Vault of Glass got reprised the first time and came back as part of Rise of Iron with the legendary primaries or the exotic primaries.
Mm.
And someone got a bit pissed off and went out and smashed his patio furniture to pieces. But yeah,
Well,
moving on swiftly.
speaking of breaking things out of frustration,
Which
my
one are you
next,
gonna do?
yeah, so my number five, and I have two of them beside each other, but I'm gonna go with the one that I think you will agree with me on, and it's Sekiro.
Yes, Sekiro. I also have two on mine.
It's the other one, Bloodborne.
The other one's Bloodborne.
So I I had to make the decision, and I think as much as I love Bloodborne, if Bloodborne was 60 FPS and as beautiful as Sekiro is right now, it would be the best for me because I love that setting. Like
Yeah,
the,
Yarnum is
the
great.
Japanese setting is
Oh,
phenomenal.
you mean Sekiro setting? I was going to Yarnum.
Yeah, no, but no, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying so. Sekiro setting is phenomenal, but there's something about Bloodborne that just has that like
Yeah,
guttural, like you just know you're in the thick of it. And you're like, this makes sense.
yeah.
Whereas in Sekiro, you're kind of like, see, really that size? Why is there a headless ape? What is going on in Japan? What are they drinking? But you still like you play it and you love it, and the combat in all of the FromSoft games,
Yeah.
Sekiro has the best combat. If you
Oh,
couldn't
I would.
parry,
Yeah.
if you couldn't parry in any FromSoft game, play Sekiro because that's all you're going to do constantly, and you'll be a parry king till you go back to Demon Souls and you don't know how to parry again.
Funnily enough, yeah, definitely. And I actually think you can touch on dodging as well. If you struggle with the dodge in Bloodborne and the parrying with the gun in Bloodborne,
Yeah.
Sekiro makes Bloodborne and Sekiro makes Dark Souls easier.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're saying, the setting was phenomenal. I loved that traditional Japanese setting, that old style ninja Japan setting. I also
Mm-hmm.
love the current Japan cyberpunk kind of Tokyo setting, but Sekiro is a beautiful game. But yeah, the combat is it's perfect.
Yeah.
Now, depending on who you speak to, some will say it's too hard, some will say it's too punishing. But what I liked about it, in comparison to Bloodborne or to Dark Souls, in those games, if you're struggling on a boss or on a particular part of the game, you just go back and do something you've done before and you grind up a couple of levels and then you kind of over level a bit and it makes them that little bit easier. You're not allowed to do that in Sekiro. Sekiro
No.
says to you, you better get good or you're not getting past me.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's funny because so talking about difficulty, I think the difficulty between the two is somewhat subjective. Um,
mm,
for me, Bloodborne was my first proper FromSoft. I had played Demon Souls when it came out
mm.
originally on the PS3, and I was like, I can't play this. I kept dying at the very start in Boletaria. I was like, fuck this game. Why would anyone want this? Then
Frisbee!
Bloodborne, yeah, then Bloodborne came out, and I was like, oh hey, like this looks cool. I picked it up, not
Yeah.
realizing it was FromSoft again, and I could not get past the Cleric Beast. Like for the first
Cleric Beast was on
month,
the bridge, the first boss, right?
yeah, and he's optional. I couldn't get past him,
Oh, yeah, he
and
was.
I was like, nope. Do you know what? I'm just not made out for these games. Fuck them. And I was renting it back when you could rent games. I was renting it at the time,
You
so I brought
know,
it back.
Extravision closed down like 5 years ago this week. I got
That's when.
I got a memory on Facebook about it. It's like,
So
oh no, Extravision closed. Where would I go on my break from work? But yeah,
yeah, so like that was I had rented it because I didn't want to invest in it. It's like it's another hard game, and yeah, I think it was probably 2 years later that I went, okay, it's 20 quid now with the Old Hunters DLC. I was like, do you know
that
what?
was a great DLC actually.
I would admit I still haven't beaten it.
It's a good DLC. I actually played through that with a friend.
And this is where I'm coming back to it being subjective. Bloodborne for me is the harder of the two games. And I think that's probably due to the fact that Sekiro is so perfect in the attack animations, the deflections, like everything.
The hitboxes especially.
Everything works exactly as it's supposed to. Whereas Bloodborne is more Dark Souls, so it's a bit more.
Yeah.
You probably hit him, but fuck it, you're dead.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sekiro
I
is my
platinum Bloodborne actually as well. I did get a platinum on
wow.
Bloodborne. Scumbag style.
What's the scumbag style in Bloodborne?
I can't remember off the top of my head. It's something to do with the umbilical cords, I think.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's
But you
the
still have to do
endings.
the challenge dungeon.
Because there's 3 or 4 different endings, isn't there?
Yeah, you save scum, so
I save scum.
you had your 3 umbilical cords, and you would let Gurman kill you for 1. Get rid of your umbilical cord for killing Gurman, and then have the 3rd one so that the presence would arrive. Yeah.
That's exactly it, yeah. And that's something, I know we just spoke a lot about Bloodborne, but on Sekiro, something that I really love about it, and I only actually realised this recently when rewatching Girlfriend reviews on their review on YouTube about it. If you look at the Demon Souls, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, a lot of the story is in the text, is in the background lore. It's kind of not really, whereas Sekiro has that beginning to end story. Now, I know you have your few different endings. If you didn't get the best ending where you fight, Genichiro becomes the old guy. I can't think of the old guy's name.
Oh, Ishin.
Yeah. But it has that kind of beginning to end story, and you kind of what everything has happened from the beginning. The story is front and center, and I think that's what I really loved about it. What's your favorite boss in Sekiro?
I did really like Sword Saint Ishin at the end.
Yeah,
only because everyone gave out about it, and for some reason I found it really easy.
You've been like, I've been fighting Genichiro for so fucking long. This guy is not going to stop me.
Actually, you know what? I know what my favorite boss is, and only because it's the reason I quit Sekiro for a whole year. It's El Father, not El Young El, or maybe El Father's the young one, but El where you fight him.
Down in Lady Butterfly's lair.
No, not that one. That's the hard one. The easier one, Old El, where you fight him when you break the Iron Code. I could not beat him. For about 2 weeks I tried and I couldn't get it, and I went, no, fuck this. And you were sending me texts going, I'm here now, I've completed. I'm like, fuck you. I uninstalled it, left it, and I was like, I'm not touching that again. And then a year later...
And here's a not so humble brag. I did all of that with a mouse and keyboard.
You did, and
that was the moment where I kind of went, yeah, I can play M&K.
If
I've mastered
anyone
M&K.
is actually watching this and wants to find us on Twitter, please ask Kev to get the video of him fighting. Was it? You had a video of you fighting Genichiro? No, it was Ishin. I think it was Ishin.
Yeah.
There's a video of you.
I actually know what you're gonna say.
On mouse and keyboard, post that up, right? So if anyone is listening and wants to find that video, find us on Twitter. It's at LiveWireGamePod.
Yes, and I'll retweet it as well.
And ask Kev for that video, because it is the strangest way for anyone to play Sekiro. But when you realize it's M&K, it is so impressive, because I couldn't do that. So there you go. That's our little
sad story, Stephen. I don't have the clip. I don't have the clip.
All right, well, you may edit that out of the podcast.
Yeah, I don't have it. I don't have the clip anymore unless I posted it on Facebook or Twitter.
I think you might have put it in the Discord because someone commented on it.
Is this the one where I do a backflip and fall off the map?
No, that's no, but we'll get that one as well if you want.
No, that's that one's somewhere. But what do you mean by that? The way I'm playing, and it makes sense because I'm playing with mouse and keyboard.
So I've never seen anyone play it the way you do, which is that you were sprinting constantly around.
Oh yeah.
And then you would sprint, Ishin will come in, you do all your deflects, get in your attacks, and then instead of doing more counter attacks or preparing for the next attack, you run again. Like you're out of there, and then you make the boss come to you, and it makes no sense because you think about it on controller, like all the movements you have to do to turn really quickly and run before the boss gets attacked. But yeah, here's you like 180ing and sprinting in a straight line, getting out of there before the boss.
I never thought about that. I never thought about that.
So it's very impressive. But back to your point, L, the original L, was a pain in my hole. Took a year's break, came back, beat him first try, then went to L Father, beat him on the third try. I was like, so what was yours?
Whoa, that echoed.
Oh,
my favorite one is also, it's probably the one I found hardest. It's the demon. I think it's Demon of Hatred, where it's the big fire dog. I did, and I know you could bullshit it. You could use the whistle ability to stun him, and you could use a certain smoke to stun him again. I didn't want to bullshit it. That boss was tough. That's the only boss in that whole game where I'd actually say I struggled on that one. But my favorite one is after you beat the headless ape. You beat the headless ape, and then you work your way into the next area, and you go down to a cave, and there's another ape, just a normal ape. And then you cut its head off. I think it's that, isn't it? Or is there
no,
another?
you're mixing it up. No, so you fight the first ape,
Yeah.
cut its head off.
Yes.
Freaky things happen.
Freaky things happen, and then later on you're fighting another ape.
No, you're fighting the same
ape. Sorry, the same ape,
so
and in the middle of the boss fight, another ape spawns. I remember actually doing that fight late at night, and I just went, "No, I'm done." I just walked off. No, it was like there's another ape.
I love that setup because you walk down. So if you do that sequencing correctly, you'll fight headless ape. You'll fight ape. He'll become headless ape, and after that bullshit, like Grant, he's done. Never see him again. You go down the cavern, and there's an ape up against the wall like this, and you're like, another fucking ape, seriously.
Yeah.
And then it turns, and it's the headless ape. You're like, this fucker for a third time. You fight him, and then he does a roar, and then you realize that roar is his mating call, and his mate drops in. And she is a bitch.
Yeah, that was I think, and actually touching back on what you were saying about how I fought against Ishin, that's also how I did that boss fight. I would get in and do a bit of damage to the normal ape, run to the other side of the arena, wait for that ape to come, do some damage, sprint to the other side of the arena. It was great. It was easy.
I don't think there is another way to do that fight.
No, it was a nightmare. But it was also that's for you, FromSoft. But I love you, really. Where's Elden Ring? Thanks. So we really got a 2-in-1 there with Sekiro and Bloodborne, didn't we?
Were you going with Bloodborne as your
No, but we got 2-in-1 and we cheated.
What's your fifth? Go on. Just throw it out there.
See, okay. You didn't say one that I hoped you'd say in Portal 2.
Portal 2 is on my list.
You have it on it.
I have it on my list.
Because Portal 2 was fun. I didn't play Portal 2 until years later. I bought it off someone in work for like €2. It was the best €2 I've ever spent. But I've got GTA San Andreas there because I sunk so many hours into that as a kid. But no, I have to throw Cyberpunk 2077 onto this list.
Oh,
I sunk 160 hours in myself. I've now watched Louise play 80 plus hours. I'm probably going to sink another 100 hours in shortly. And I'll preface all I'm about to say with CD Projekt Red were very shady in the lead up to the launch of this game, and they deserve all of the backlash that they've got as a company and leadership of that company. They deserve all of that. They were dishonest. The review embargo was BS. I'm now never going to get a job there because I've said that. But Cyberpunk, the game, is just I still don't know if I can talk about it fully because I haven't processed it. I waited 7 or 8 years to play this game. I was as hyped as anybody. And my day one night, my launch night was midnight hits. About 10 past midnight, I got into the game. Was making a character, had a bit of a giggle about Penis 1 and Penis 2, did some shenanigans, it was funny. Launched the game and played it for 3 or 4 hours because I actually had to be up for work the following morning. And just instantly was like, this is, I've waited for so long for this, and it is all that I wanted and more. Like, graphically, it is. I don't think there's actually a debate. Running on ultra settings with ultra ray tracing, or for that matter, on a PS5 or Xbox Series X, there's no debating it's the best looking game to look at. It's the best atmosphere ever in a game. It's just the atmosphere in the city is insane. The city, it's like it's got its own fucking language. It's like it's a fully realized city in so many ways. I'll touch on where it's not in a second. But I played it for a few hours that last night. I got nowhere through the prologue because I spent about 25 hours on a 4 hour prologue. But we don't need to talk about that. And I logged off Cyberpunk that night going, wow, what a game. I can't wait to see what everyone else is saying about this.
Oh, naive
uh,
Kev.
I opened up Twitter in bed and just saw all of the fallout of the base PS4 stuff that if you didn't own a RTX 30 series card or a 2080 Ti if you had that high, but all of the fallout, all of the drama, and I just went, that's not the game I'm playing. But yeah, it's just I've never felt so immersed in a city. I've never felt so just like the noise, the sounds, the sights, the soundtrack in Cyberpunk is honestly like they recorded all those songs for scratch for this game. All those like I know you got GTA, you've got your radio stations, and they're real songs that they've got the licensing for. This is an original. All the songs for the game are original, and it's just I think what makes Cyberpunk so special for me, and also what has caused so much of the problems because it was released too early. There's no debating it. Is the attention that the developers, the people, the ground staff developers, put on the finer details, the music, the way the light bounces off everything. The when you're in a car, if you go first person, so in some cars the dashboard pulses lights to the beat of the fucking song that's playing. And because they spent so much time making the finer details of this game so incredibly detailed, that the bigger systems, the police system, is non-existent. The AI for cars, for driving, for the computer, again, I park here, just drive around me for fuck's sake. And that's a bigger discussion, but as an experience, it's the best experience I've had in a game. It was just I wish I could wipe my memory and go back to December 10th and just play through it again. I really do. And I know you haven't finished it, so I'm not going into too much character details or that, but what I loved about it, and it's what I love about Blade Runner. Don't know if you've obviously seen Blade Runner 2049, yeah?
I actually haven't, believe it or not. It's
Get out.
on my wall of shame for not
Okay,
watching that yet.
you've seen the original Blade Runner, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I love about Blade Runner and generally this cyberpunk franchise or cyberpunk genre is that these wonderful futures of tech becoming everything and the neon lights and the atmospheres and all that, and then they tell a very simple, basic human story almost. And cyberpunk is insane. Like the city, Night City is. It's the best game space I've played in. If you can ignore some of the glaring issues with it, but if it just as a city, it's insane.
Mm.
But the actual stories that you're getting within it are very anal. They're very basic stories. They're very day to day. Like even the main story with Keanu, with Johnny, like it's a very straightforward and basic story. And the way I looked at it is that the story, the driving, the gunplay, which is all great, they're only there to give you a reason to be in this city. The game should just be called Night City because Night City is the main attraction of it. They've given driving mechanics, shooting mechanics, gameplay mechanics just to allow you to experience this city. I could talk about it all day, and I'm not making any fucking sense. But go play that game because you've got a 3080. You've no excuse.
Well, this is the thing. So, and you're probably gonna have to help me after this, but my Cyberpunk experience is that I can't get it to 60 FPS, which sounds so anal when you say it out loud, but it's because I have a 27 Ryzen 7 2700X, and for some reason it just, no matter what way I change the settings, it's not going up to 60 or above. And there's something about having that fluidity in a game. Like I want to play the game and not be annoyed that I'm getting screen tearing or that there's some judder and stutter going on. I want to enjoy the game the way you have, where you experience the city for the city, and I don't look at something and go, well, that would have been great if it didn't just,
that would have been great.
But no, like I think, yeah, if I can get it working, and maybe it needs more performance optimizations, which I'm happy to wait for. I paid for the game; it's going nowhere. But it's a game I really want to get into, and I won't spoil anything. But the first lead up to the first proper mission, how that goes, that's when I went, I like this.
Yeah. And I know you're somebody who didn't really. You're gonna get a lot of hate for this. You didn't really like The Witcher, and yeah. I also feel really bad that it's not on my list, and it should be. And you're saying after an hour or two of Cyberpunk, you like this. That really says it all from someone who doesn't really like what they did beforehand.
No, I'll hold my hand up and say I really did not like The Witcher 3.
And you know that first bit that you're talking about, those opening couple of missions, that carries through this whole game. That's the incredible thing. That, remember we played Destiny 2 at launch, and it was the Red War was starting, and you started on the outside, and you started in the tower, and then you went up to the ship, and it was like, oh, this is the best mission ever. And then the rest of the missions were just kind of meh. No, yeah. In Cyberpunk, that quality of storytelling is throughout the whole game. It's not the most ridiculous story of all time where you're going to, I don't know, where something crazy happens, but it's just the way the story's told is great, and the characters are phenomenal. I don't want to give you any preconceptions of what characters are this and what characters are that, but I remember actually I was doing a side mission and I was streaming it into Discord to somebody, and I just was going through, it was a random side mission, I couldn't tell you what one it was. And they're like, oh, that was a great mission. That was really good. I was like, yeah, I'm just clearing out side missions. And they were like, wait, that was a side mission? They're like, that was better than most missions in most normal games. I'm like, yeah, that was a side mission. They're like, but you were in that one mission for like 45 minutes. They're like, yeah, that was a side mission. No, it's just, I really wish I had someone that I could just sit down and just talk all day about it. Because it's so much to talk about. And yeah, it's got its issues. It's got performance issues. The game, as I loved it, don't get me wrong, I loved it. If I had plugged it in that day one and I was getting less than 60 FPS, I would have bought a new CPU day two. So that I could experience the game as it's intended. But the people who have experienced the game as it's intended, it's just...
Yeah.
Putting aside some of the unfinished systems, and the subway system isn't in the game, even though it was shown at one point. The review embargo for console was complete bullshit. Um, but yeah, I can't wait until this game till it's finished. The game's 80% finished when it launched. But that 80% is just one of the finest experiences I've. It's why I've played games, and now
Yeah,
and since I finished it, I'm just. That's why I'm shiny hunting Pokemon and just soft resetting, because I look at the games I've got on my desktop. I've got Wolfenstein 2 there. I've got Hades. I've got um.
Near Automata.
Haven't downloaded it yet. I've got Borderlands 3 sitting. I've got stuff. I got Ghost of Tsushima. I still have to finish The Last of Us 2, which, by the way, I haven't been spoiled for The Last of Us 2 yet. Surprisingly, I don't know how. Yeah, I don't know what happens. I don't know what happens at the end.
Well,
But I don't want to play any of them.
yeah.
I want to be in Night City. And it's a complaint that Dylan was having, and he'll back it up next week, was how many phone calls you get from the NPCs. And your phone does, for the first 10 hours of Cyberpunk, your phone does not stop ringing. But that's the way that they deliver side quests to you. You drive to a new area, you get a phone call from John over there, and he's like, "Oh, I've got all these missions for you." And that's the way that they delivered those side missions to you. And Dylan was like, "My phone, please stop ringing. I want to do this." I wish my phone would ring, because I want a reason to go back. I want a reason to be in that city. And I'm someone who, I've completely cleared my map. I've nothing to do apart from start a new character. Now, that took me 140 hours. I can't really complain. But yeah, it's a topic for another day, when you get your finger out and play the goddamn game and get all the endings and that. But yeah, it was a long 8 years waiting for it, and I'm sad that it's gone.
Well, that's what happens when you blast through it in less than a week.
I spent a month playing it.
Yeah, true.
It,
You got
it
through the
came.
campaign in like
Huh?
3 days. You got through the campaign in about 3 or 4 days, I think, did you?
No, I completed the campaign after 140 hours.
Jeez, felt like it was sooner than that. Because I
Poor,
know
poor Takamura was sitting in that restaurant for 120 hours. I
we had a talk
remember. I
about
remember after 90 hours. I remember after 90 hours, I still hadn't done a main mission. I was still only on the second main mission, or in Act 2.
yeah, because we were talking about this, like there's two ways to play an RPG: the right way and the wrong way.
Yeah.
And
To touch on them, there's the Ralph way and the Sam way.
yeah, so like you either clear everything before you move on to the next main mission, or you just go through the campaign. And like both are obviously valid ways to play. But if you only touch the campaign missions and then complain about how short it was, or that there's not enough in it, well,
I would normally agree with. They're both valid ways to play it. With Cyberpunk, I disagree completely, because, as I was saying, the city is why you're there. Everything else is just a spoon, and it's the spoon to feed you more of the city. That's the only way. Everything in this game, the driving, the shooting, not the characters because they part of it, but the story, the missions, they're all just a spoon that feeds you more of Night City. And yeah, it's you should. You don't have to do all the side missions, but the main side missions, they make the game a far better experience. And your endings become much more fulfilling if you've done everything or most of it.
So
Cyberpunk kind of took over.
well, I'm just realizing now, like we said before we start this, oh, let's keep it to the hour. I think we're about an hour and 40 minutes now.
It's about just coming up to an hour 40, yeah.
Yeah, so
before we move on and finish up and wrap up, have you any honorable mentions that you didn't include?
I was going to say I will just name them without any sort of context.
Mm-hmm.
But the list that I had here included Resident Evil 4, Halo 3, Monster Hunter World, Nier Automata, Fable 2 and Portal 2.
Yeah, I had Portal 2 on mine as well. I haven't actually played a lot of the ones you mentioned because A, I didn't have an Xbox as a teenager. I had a PS3 and Warhammer, so I couldn't afford an Xbox.
Oh,
um, and Resident Evil, no, you're okay. I like my poop inside me or in the toilet, not in my pants as I'm playing games. But then I mentioned GTA San Andreas was on mine as well because that was when that came out, it was insane what they achieved with that. Um, and I don't give a shit what anyone says about GTA Online. GTA San Andreas takes GTA 5 out the back garden and stamps on its face. And the other one there that I left out was Uncharted 2.
oh.
Look, I love Naughty Dog games.
Mm.
Not to the extent that the industry loves Naughty Dog games, but the Nathan Drake saga I haven't actually finished 4 because Destiny was out, and I actually don't even know the ending to 4. I don't know how I stay spoiler free for all this stuff, but it's a talent. But yeah, the best of the Uncharted games was Among Thieves. My big honorable mention goes to a game that was at the time both ahead of its time and ridiculously difficult for its target audience. It's Digimon World.
Oh.
Back on the PS1. And I know you said you're not a Digimon fan, but Digimon World was ridiculously difficult. Like, obscenely difficult. Like, I'll link you to an article that goes over the... Basically, this game, you're supposed to fail. So, you get your Digimon, you level them up, you digivolve them, and then they die. And then they're reborn as a piece of shit. And depending on what way you leveled them or treated them in their previous life, decides what Digimon they become in their next life. But they have a lifespan of like a certain amount of game time. I don't know the ins and outs completely. But that is the mechanic. Is they die, they're reborn. Huh?
Did Miyazaki make this game or something? That is mental.
It is ridiculous. And I'll link you to the article, but the article was basically saying he bought the game again, or he played the game again 20 years later now because he's an adult and he understands how these things work. And he was making his way to the final boss of the game with a very powerful a Digi-Pokemon by his side. And as he got to the final boss, it died. So
That's insane.
it was. I'll link you to the article. I'll have to find it first, but it was just the most ridiculous. But I loved it. I never finished it because my 10-year-old brain couldn't comprehend the ins and outs. And unless you had a guide, or sunk hundreds of hours in to learn the systems, it wasn't possible to finish it. And the internet didn't exist in 2000 the way it does now. So
Not in Ireland.
not in Ireland anyway. So guides were hard to come by.
Yeah, you have to buy them. Remember, you have to buy guides.
I've got some in a box there. I've got a guide for Oblivion for...
It's like this size.
Yeah, I've got some there with the old posters in it, but good
Yeah.
old guides. But yeah, I think that's my real honorable mention, and it actually comes with a bittersweet story of my brother. Don't know if I've told you this before. Gave a friend a loan of my Digimon World game without my permission.
Of course, yeah.
And they sold it at a car boot sale by accident. Well, their mother sold it at a car boot sale by accident for €1.
That is absolutely shocking. Like, oh
and
my
they
God.
never bought me another one. That's the worst part. They didn't replace it.
Well, that's because they'd be out €59 if they did.
That's the other side of it. Digimon World now sells for €50 still.
That's crazy.
But anyway.
So you're not friends with that person, or your brother's not friends with him anymore, I hope, is he?
No, he's not friends with her anymore.
Yeah.
But anyway.
God,
I don't think I've any other honourable mentions to touch on today.
I actually have one that I completely forgot to put on my list, and I feel ashamed that I didn't. But The Legend of Zelda. That
No,
never.
yeah, we're terrible gamers. Neither of us have a Zelda on our list.
But it would be in my list. But the one I pick is definitely going to be like no one will agree with me on this, and it's
So
Twilight
you
Princess.
Twilight Princess. I was gonna say it's neither Majora's or Ocarina then.
I love them; they're amazing. But Twilight Princess was my favorite.
Hmm. I always liked Zelda as a character though. I love playing as Zelda with his sword and that. It was
And just like that, we've lost anyone who made.
great. Sorry. So yeah, that's not a bad list of our top 5 favorites: Oblivion, Cyberpunk, Sekiro, Destiny, Pokemon Gold and Silver, Metal Gear Solid 3, Silent Hill 2,
Final
Final
Fantasy
Fantasy 10.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Forbidden Memories, and Spider-Man: Web of Shadows. And I think like there's some games there. I think if people can pick up and play, I think Web of Shadows is a complete. Um, it's just people haven't played it, and it is one of the finest Spider-Man games ever. Definitely worth. You can still pick it up on the 360 if you have one, or an Xbox One with backwards compatibility. But yeah, there's definitely.
Can you get it on the PS5 with backwards compatibility?
You can't. Hold on there, I just get my PS1 games out on my PS5. Oh wait, thanks Sony. There it is. That is in such good condition.
Isn't it? It's in pretty good condition. It's got like dirt on it. Like it's got dirt, but that comes off. It's
Yeah.
got chocolate from me and throwing it that way.
Back before you appreciated what they were when you had them.
My cousin had a hacked one. That was great.
Oh,
Where like
yeah.
the top actually opens. Yeah, it was insane back in the day.
Yeah. But I think I don't know if we had another topic, but we're probably gone
Uh,
over. I know you want to do news.
yeah, I was gonna touch on some gaming news, but probably
Well,
won't really today because we've gone a bit longer than we intended. So maybe we'll leave it for today and we'll finish with a bit of tinfoil hat stuff.
yes.
In that
Yes.
you touched on the orchestra for Final Fantasy,
I
and
did.
in the Final Fantasy VII Orchestra World Tour, which was unfortunately cancelled because of the current situation in the world, but there is a performance being live streamed around the world on February 13th. But the tinfoil hat stuff comes in the notice about performers, in that Yoshiniro Kitase, who is the remake producer, is making an appearance with a video comment. So hopefully that's to do with either part 2 or the PC slash PS5 slash Xbox Series X, maybe, slash Nintendo Switch Pro edition of it, which would be awesome if we actually finally got that on PC with some ray tracing. Could you imagine some of the
God.
boss fights with ray tracing enabled?
But could you imagine even being in the slums and looking up at the plates of Midgar and just seeing where the lights, or even, it's not a spoiler to say this, but when you're on
Yeah,
top of
it came out like 10 months ago. You can spoilers.
but when you're on,
Spoilers for Final Fantasy VII Remake from here onwards. Mute.
no, but when you're on top of the plates and you're looking out across not just Midgar,
Yes.
but then out into the world beyond, and just the way like the light works there, like that would, oh, that game. And just even in sector not sector 7, sector 5 maybe, where you meet Earth,
Yes.
having all the like the loveless signs and all them like being ray
Yeah.
traced.
Oh, could you imagine actually, yeah, in the where you're with Aerith, yeah, in is it Sector 5? I can't remember.
It's one of, yeah, it's sector something.
But yeah, in yeah. Oh.
Yeah, but I think so.
But
tinfoil hat.
60 FPS is the real requirement before we get too excited about ray tracing and all that kind of nonsense. Just give us
And I
60 FPS, please.
and I do think if we're keeping our spin foil hats on, I do think the announcement will probably be towards the PS5 upgrade.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what I imagine it will be.
Potentially with the announcement of Xbox slash PC.
It'll be
Coming.
interesting if it comes to Xbox, though.
Well, so considering that the back catalogue of Final Fantasy games are
Mm,
going to Game Pass, and Kingdom Hearts 3 was released on it
okay.
at
On Game
launch.
Pass.
No,
Ah.
no, it's not no, but it launched on the Xbox One on launch day, which typically has been a PlayStation Nintendo
Mm.
exclusive. Um, so maybe this would be a case that it's a 1 year, like we're coming up to the year anniversary.
April, right? April 10?
April something. March is in my head, but that's because that's the original date.
Yeah.
But it would make sense for a February announcement to say that there would be a year kind of edition one where we get the PS5 upgrade to 60 FPS.
I think. Oh, I was right, by the way. April 10th on the money.
Well done.
Yeah. I think there is gonna be some sort of announcement, and it's probably the PS5 version. With
But
an
what I
upgrade.
really want is the release date of
This
part
is-
2, and I want it to be this year.
That isn't gonna happen.
No, it's really not. But I could see how it could be the later half of the year, given that part 1 was developing all the systems,
Mhm.
and they've got a lot of those assets. So
They
part
have a
2
lot of the assets, yeah.
So part 2 was really about the curation of the new story content, the new environments, all the pathfinding around that, and so on, which is a huge job. But developing the systems is, the make it or break it, really.
I don't think it will be this year. The announcement might be this year, but I think we'll be lucky to see it by the end of 2022.
I think it could be April 23.
Yeah. That's where I would beginning Q1, Q2 of 23 is where I would think part 2 will come out.
I want to be wrong.
I want to be wrong. I want to be wrong as well, but I don't think so. I really
And
don't.
if you get any news on FF16, please
Anything.
be.
Anything. A year. Just give us a year.
Yeah, even if they said 22, I'd be like, grand, I know.
Yeah.
And you know what? If they did what they did with 15, where they released 2 demos, in like the years previous, like I was only going through my game library. You had Final Fantasy 15 episode The Sky, which came out like 3 years before the game actually launched or something. So if you want to give us a demo of something, that'd be great.
Please. Something to play. I need something to play. Anything.
Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah. So I think that's spin foil hat time, so we can take that back off.
No, mine's always on. Mine's always on.
So yeah, I think this. I don't know if anyone's listening or if we're going to put that out there, but for me,
Please
this
listen.
has been great. It's
Been nice just chatting about stuff.
because we usually just raid, and then there's always
Anger.
you don't actually get to talk to someone properly. Anger. So it's nice to just sit there and talk, and because normally we only talk on WhatsApp. We don't actually ever have a face-to-face talk, and
No, not anymore. Anyway, we had a few, but then you went to
the kingdom.
that end of the country.
Yeah,
But
down to the kingdom.
It's been good. Some interesting,
and,
definitely some interesting games, and maybe if we continue this on, which I'd like to, whether we release it or not, is another thing. I've no problem with releasing it.
same.
We could narrow the scope of what we're talking about to really zone in on particular things. We could go with a lot of older games that we played back in the day. I'd be happy to sit down and play through triangular graphics game if I had to speak about it. I'd have to buy that one. I wasn't interested back in the day, but I'll root out the old N64 and buy me some Pokemon Stadium.
Look what I got
Oh,
for
yeah.
Christmas.
Nice.
It's not even the proper one.
I have a proper one. I have a. It's gone
no,
black.
You can't see that, but I googled it to see like what games are involved or what games are loaded on. There's 621. Do you know what came up in the first Google search results? A consumer warning against how it's a bad electronic device and prone to electrocuting you because in here are the wires and they're exposed directly to the mains at the back.
Have you been electrocuted yet?
I haven't turned it on yet.
No, I got my brother an N64 for Christmas a few years ago from the Rage in town. I went and bought him an N64.
Oh yeah.
I bought it with GoldenEye and something else. Was it Altered Beast and something else as well? Oh, Streets of Rage. That's what it was. No, sorry, they're Mega Drive game. I'm getting confused because the previous year I bought him a Mega Drive with Altered Beast and Streets of Rage. But I bought him an N64 and it's sitting in my dad's living room because he never plays it. So I might commandeer that someday.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, if I think, as you said, I think we probably will release this, even if only one person listens to it. That's fine. This is more cathartic for us. My mom won't even listen to this.
Mine would. Hi, ma'am.
Hi, Kev's ma'am. But yeah, I think if people want to find us, we're currently at Livewire Gaming Pod on Twitter.
Livewire Game Pod.
At Livewire Game Pod at Twitter. Yeah. We will be posting a tweet if this goes live. We currently have a soon trademark.
A soon trademark. I will if it goes live. I'll probably put it on YouTube. I'll put the link to that YouTube wherever we decide to post it on the Twitter. Yeah. We'll probably put it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, whatever it's called. I don't know what the process is, but we'll figure that out. But yeah, I think it's kind of come to a natural kind of end.
Yeah.
And now I get to try to fix Cyberpunk for you.
Oh yeah, jeez. Yeah, but look, if anyone is listening, thanks very much. We both really do appreciate it. And Kev, I appreciate your face. This was really good, and I really enjoyed it.
I'll put on makeup for you next week.
You got that beautiful spotlight.
Yeah, I
can't believe you purposely went out and bought that just for this.
I wish that's what it was for. I bought it for Louise for her Christmas present, and then I've stolen it. She stole my PS5. I stole her spotlight.
Yeah, only one of you came out well in that trade.
That's very true. And it wasn't me.
No, I really did enjoy this, and I hope you did too.
Yeah, I really did, and I will end this here. And until next time,